The Democrats, as a whole, have actually impressed me a lot. The last month and a half, this government shutdown, in a lot of ways, has been a struggle, but the only reason it has been a struggle is because of the Republicans. At every point, the Republicans have had the opportunity to manually approve funding for the programs that Americans rely on to live a normal everyday life. And in front of the country, they chose not to fund these programs so they could keep using the shutdown as a way to attack Democrats. Meanwhile, the Democrats only held the shutdown to prevent the Republicans from increasing the premiums on the ACA coverage for millions of Americans by upwards of 4 or 5 times. It's really bad. We went through the longest shutdown in government history for nothing. All because 7 Democrats and 1 independent, who, fuck that guy, but the 7 Democrats in particular, fuck them especially, betrayed us. They betrayed us. They did. There's no other way of putting it. And the rest of the Democratic Party, I am happy to say, is pissed. These 7 Democrats are now the black sheep of the Democratic Party. If you thought the DNC was hostile to socialist candidates like Bernie, wait until you see the stuff that is being said within the convention of Democrats about these 7 who sided with Republicans to reopen the government. We are finally starting to see the Democrats come together, recognize the Republicans are a problem, that we cannot just go high when they go low, that we need to use their methods against them, such as shutting down the government and refusing to hold a vote to reopen. These methods are things Republicans have done to great success for decades and decades and decades. And these 7 Democrats fucked it up for us. But keep in mind, that's just 7 Democrats. And let's be real, a couple of those Dems only ran as Dems against a Republican because they come from like reddish or purplish states. And so they're basically Republicans that ran as Dems so they could run against the Republican. Like some of these Democrats are Democrats in name only, and they are proud of it, especially like modern Fetterman. Nonetheless, they are now the ones who are the black sheep of the party, who the rest of the party wants to oust and replace with anybody who isn't like them. Perhaps maybe we could see more progressive candidates such as Mamdani. The next Zohran Mamdani could end up being elected into their place. But these senators fucked us over big time. And that is what we're going to be learning about today. And we're also going to be learning about the Democrats' moves to, more or less, oust these Democrats that went against the plan. I know that we're not, big fans of the Democratic Party on the left at all times, but this is actually a sign that what many leftists have criticized the Dems for being unwilling to do is actually starting to happen. The Dems are actually starting to take fighting fascism and gaining power in order to institute serious progressive change seriously in a way they haven't before. And that is a big deal. The Democratic Party is actually starting to become a party where progressive politics are feasible. And through the Democratic Party, if this is the case, progressive politics can become feasible throughout all of America, maybe. We can hope, right? We can hope. If you end up enjoying this video, by the way, leave a like and a comment down below. Helps the video a ton. Hype it up with the hype button. And consider subscribing only if you want to see more from me, though. Don't subscribe just because you like my takes, okay? If you don't want to see my stuff in the future, leave a like and a comment and go on with your life. But only subscribe if you want to see more. But that said, let's continue.
Crazy. 7 Democrats and an independent just torpedoed everything. They just gave in without getting the one thing they've been demanding for the past 40 days. And I'm actually going to be talking about
millions of Americans are going to see their once affordable healthcare, thanks to Obama, go up in price 4, 5, maybe even 6 times. Their insurance premiums are going to become unpayable. Millions of Americans are about to lose their coverage, all because of these 7 Democrats who all, hilariously enough, they all came out to say, oh no, don't worry. We and the Republicans are going to come together to hold a vote to not fuck over the ACA. And they're acting as though the Republicans are actually going to let it happen. It's not even going to get seen. It's going to get shot down before it even gets voted on. And they know it. It's just it's an excuse. Yeah, the devil promised us something and we took their promise. How can you blame us? We believed the devil when he made a promise to us. The devil wouldn't lie. Exactly.
9 members of the Democratic caucus. I'm talking about these 8 because that's the exact number that Republicans ended up needing to break up the
fucking
filibuster.
Fetterman,
And that because
man.
there was actually a Republican holdout, Rand Paul. The main thing, they get the 60 votes. They vote on a package that includes a stopgap funding bill that'll reopen the government through January 30th. Also, the package includes several bills to fund some government operations for the entire fiscal year, which is through September 2026, including agricultural programs, military construction, and veterans affairs. Also, one of the...
Let's just hope the next biggest shutdown in American history begins on February 1st. Let's just hope, guys.
Most notable things is going to include a full year of funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as food stamps, and the Senate deal would bring back...
That's one of the few upsides. While the Republicans during the shutdown had every opportunity to publicly and openly manually fund SNAP, at the very least now the government is back up. For now, at least, SNAP will receive its funding. The only problem is, I have no doubt that the Republicans will be targeting the SNAP program shortly. So, yeah, we've got SNAP back, but for now, like, the next time it goes away is probably going to be permanent, and probably at the hands of Trump now. So, this was not a win.
Federal employees fired during the shutdown and guaranteed pay to those who either worked without pay or were furloughed, which is something that is normally provided, but also something that Trump threatened to withhold. But also, a huge thing is that what's missing is an extension of the enhanced tax credits that millions of Americans rely on to lower costs for health insurance purchased through the Affordable Care Act. Right? Instead, this deal, it just sets a date for a vote on extending ACA subsidies to take place in December. So there is...
And that vote will not make it to the Senate floor. It will die. What's his name? God, I always forget his name. The Senate head of the Senate, the Republican head of the Senate. What's his name? He's got such a funny, like, one-syllable last name. It always blanks on me. Fuck. Come on, chat. Come on, chat. Remind me of his name. No, not House Speaker Johnson. Thune. Yes, Thune. Thune. Thank you. Yeah, Thune's gonna shoot it. Thune's not going to allow the vote to make it to the Senate floor. It's like he's going to shoot it down. It's not even going to be held. The idea of this vote is an excuse the Democrats who voted to reopen the government without securing the safety of the ACA have made for why what they're doing is not a blatant betrayal. And no one's buying it.
There's no guarantee whatsoever that this will clear the Senate, let alone the House. And so immediately you saw a big backlash inside of the Democratic Party with, for example, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying, people want us to hold the line for a reason. This is not a matter of appealing to a base. It's about people's lives. Working people want leaders whose word means something. With many House Dems reportedly talking about supporting primary challengers to their colleagues in the Senate. And on that note, you had Representative Ro Khanna going after Chuck Schumer, even though Schumer wasn't among those who voted for the deal, saying Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can...
Yeah, This is where the cringe part comes out, because I have seen a lot of progressives attacking the wrong people. Like, Chuck Schumer was part of the good side in this. Chuck Schumer wasn't one of the Democrats who voted to reopen the government. Like, they're like, he's the one who led this entire thing, and in the 7 worst Democrats that most of the left hates, or at one point liked Fetterman, but now hates him, all chose not to listen to Schumer and to go side with the Republicans, and that's Chuck Schumer's fault? The conspiracy is that Schumer picked the senators to take the fall. Okay, so it's lefties trying to find some way to blame the whole Democratic Party for this, even though if you're a progressive, realistically, you should see this as like a sign that, for the most part, all but 7 members of the Democratic Party are based. And I don't think a lot of progressives want to own the fact that, like, the problem people in the Democratic Party is as few as 7 people. I don't think a lot of progressives want to, like, own that, because, like, you know, Democrats bad.
Can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans. What will you fight for? And that, as you had Bernie Sanders criticizing the move not only from a policy perspective, but from a political one. We're saying that this is the exact opposite of what Dems should have taken away from their domination on Election Day last week.
And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted, but tonight, that is not what happened. So we've got to go forward, do the best that we can to try to protect working class people, to make sure that the United States not only does not throw people off of health care, but ends the absurdity of being the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. We got a lot of work to do, but to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night.
And Bernie definitely wasn't alone in arguing this point of view, especially as most voters, they blame Trump and Republicans for the shutdown. With these 8, they caved just hours after Donald Trump was viciously booed at a Commanders game. Though again, outside of those 8, not all.
Yeah, that will be coming out. My reaction to that, I covered that. That'll be coming out as a short tomorrow on YouTube, because tomorrow's my day off, no stream tomorrow. So at 9 a.m., when I normally start stream, my coverage of the Trump mass booing will come out as a short, so keep an eye out for that.
Dems are unified in being against this. You had Abigail Spanberger, who just won her election last week, Virginia's new governor-elect, backing the deal. And then with that, one of the state senators, Tim Kaine, who was among those who voted for the deal, argued that this move, it's actually the best chance to get the ACA subsidies extended, saying lawmakers know their constituents expect them to vote for it, and if they don't, they can very well be replaced at the ballot box by someone who will. Right, a thing to keep in mind there is that Virginia is home to thousands of federal workers. You also had Jackie Rosen of Nevada, right, another senator who voted for the deal, essentially arguing that it just wasn't worth trying.
I don't really buy this whole we have to reopen the government because all these federal workers, these poor federal workers, Trump is mass firing all the federal workers who have expressed Democrat sympathetic positions. Literally half of the federal government are going to be permanently fired because of their political opinions, and you're arguing we have to reopen the government for the sake of these workers in our federal workforce, who are many of them are going to lose their job anyway. And you are siding with the guy who is going to take their job. I do not buy the idea that any of these 7 Democrats did what they did out of concern for their constituents or the concern they have for anybody working a federal position in our government. I don't think any of it had to do with sympathy. I think it was, frankly, them wanting to bail from the game of chicken. I think they were scared that the narrative that it was the Democrat shutdown was starting to work, even though the election results told us that was absolutely not the case. And they ducked out of the game of chicken as the other guy was starting to veer off of the road. Like, what they did was they were playing a game of chicken, and the other guy was actively turning and quitting out. Like, you were about to win. All you have to do is just keep driving straight. You won't crash, and you will win. And then these Democrats chose to swerve the entire car, like, at the last second. Like, how do you lose a game of chicken this bad?
Trying to outlast Republicans because they were more willing to let Americans suffer. Saying, unfortunately, it's become clear as we go deeper into the second month of this Republican government shutdown that President Trump and Washington Republicans are weaponizing their power in alarming ways to inflict unimaginable pain and suffering on working people. Trump and his Republican cronies on Capitol Hill do not give a damn about hurting working people, and their conduct over the last month has been nothing short of appalling. Now, all that said, technically, as I'm recording this, not everything is set in stone, but it could take days for a final bill to move through the Senate and the House, which has been out of session since the 19th of September. They'd need to come back to Washington to vote as well, with likely almost every Republican needed to get it passed. And there, while they may ultimately not get much to say in the matter, you had Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries vowing Democrats would fight against it and adding, Donald Trump and the Republican Party own the toxic mess they have created. But then also with this, I'll say, in the meantime, while that's playing out, the effects of the shutdown, they're only going to continue to be felt. And I mean, not only in the time it takes to get this passed.
That's the sad part, too. Like, all of this heartache doesn't end overnight, and we get none of the payoff for the longest shutdown in government history. My only hope, I could see this turning into something good. Because on one hand, we had Zohran Mamdani win in New York. We had Democrats overperform across the board in the polls. And now we're seeing an overwhelming negative response from Democrat voters to these 7 centrist, conservative, moderate Democrats who allied with the Republicans. They are now being shamed. They are given the walk of shame by the entirety of the Democratic voter base right now. There is no better way to tell the DNC, guys, these milquetoast, like Republican pandering candidates are not what the Democratic Party needs. You need to start running more progressive, radical, willing to bend the rules just like the Republicans kind of candidates. Maybe not even bend the rules, just kind of talk about the shit that you're not supposed to talk about, quote unquote, in politics. Take, for instance, how much Mamdani was not afraid to criticize America's backing of Israel. No matter how much shit he got for it, he didn't go full, unhinged, Nick Fuentes fan or anything like that. He wasn't calling for Israel to be, harmed, but, he wasn't backing down. When people called him mean things that were wrong for criticizing Israel, he continued to criticize Israel. Even so, he didn't let them derail the topic into a topic on foreign policy, because then again, he is just running to be the mayor of New York. He is not going to be a foreign policy guy. And he says that just as much. He has his opinions on the issue, but his concern is the people of New York and their future, not people in Israel overseas, because he is the mayor of New York. And that is the kind of rhetoric that Americans want to hear. Being willing to dip your toes into the populism, but not accidentally falling straight into the pool. You know what I mean? I think Mamdani and AOC walk that line really well. Bernie does too.
But also, it'll be felt even after it ends in some places. For one example, U.S. Airlines just canceled more than 2,000.
Like, the Democratic Party has to notice at this point that, like, the consistently most popular Democrats in the party continue to be, like, Bernie, AOC, and now Mamdani. Like, these are figures who have so much hype behind them and are so well approved of by their constituents. I mean, AOC swallowed the entire vote. She ate all of the vote in her district. And so much so to the point where even the people in her district who voted Trump also voted for her en masse. Like, she is so popular that even Trump supporters voted for her. The Democrats need to recognize this is the kind of stuff that pulls Trump voters over to being Democratic voters. That's how you do it. We got to run more progressive candidates. And this right here, the negative response to these 7 Democrats and the positive response to people like Bernie, AOC, and Mamdani, there could not be a more clear message to Democrat leadership.
Flights yesterday for the first time since the shutdown began, and there were more than 7,000 flight delays, according to FlightAware. But then also, you've had officials saying that the country's long-time shortage of air traffic controllers, it may only end up getting worse after all of this ends. You have people like Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying that some have been speeding up their retirements lately, saying up to 15 or 20 a day are retiring. And then another example is, the more than 42 million Americans who rely on food stamps. They've been helpless as the Trump administration has fought tooth and nail not to give them the aid they've qualified for. It's been a whole thing. The White House first.
And this is why it looks so bad. Because, like, food stamps is... Okay. How do I say this? The food stamps program is something that millions of Americans benefit from. And while the Republicans might have taken years to show their ass by going after that program and disenfranchising millions of voters, the Democrats could accuse the Republicans of opposing food stamps and wanting to defund it until the cows come home. If they're not actually doing anything to stop people from getting their food stamps payments, at that very moment, it falls upon deaf ears. What the Democrats did was force the Republicans into a situation where they have to manually approve these social spending programs that so many Americans benefit from. The Republicans would have never owned wanting to defund these programs or take down these programs openly. But putting them into a situation where they have to manually take action for these programs to continue, and their refusal to do so as the majority party is undeniable, that is how they made the Republicans look bad here. That is what was so genius about this strategy.
Refused to tap contingency funding to keep that coming through November. Then 2 federal judges ruled that the administration had to make use of that money, but the administration announced it would only partially fund the program for November. Then you had a judge coming back and saying they should dole out the full benefits, but then the Supreme Court stayed the order so an appeals court could weigh in. Right, and then over the weekend, you had the Trump administration taking the opportunity to tell states to stop issuing full benefits and even undo distributions that had already been made. But then the appeals court quickly weighed in and said that Trump must give out the full benefits. Right, and while that, it may be a win, all this back and forth, it means that food aid has already been delayed for tens of millions of Americans. Some having only received a fraction of the help that they usually get, and others just still waiting, or just unsure if their payments will ever arrive. And so ultimately, while the potential end of the shutdown, it is sorely needed in many ways, we are going to see continued impacts. And there's also this question about the consequences of these Democrats rolling over. There are going to be impacts that are still felt. It's just a question of...
And, like, not all of the impacts will be bad. I am mark my words right now. Please do. I know I'm right. This is going to be a moment where the Democrats realize as a party where they need to go. That the future of the Democrats is not becoming the centrist party to oppose the fascist party of the Republicans. That their future is to become the left party. That America needs a left-wing party and a right-wing party. And I think that's what the Dems are going to realize. And that's, I think, the silver lining I hope a lot of you guys take out of this. Because I don't want us to doomer. I genuinely don't think this is something to doomer over. It's fine to be mad about it. I'm frustrated. I'm expressing my frustration. But at the end of the day, I do think this will be turned into a W down the road. So don't like despair over it, you know?
What, when, how, and there's also the question about what the consequences will be politically, both for Democrats and Republicans. And so with that said, that is the news. In this part, this is my opinion. I'm open to the possibility that December comes, things play out a certain way, and I realize, oh shit, I was actually being short-sighted. But for right now, it feels like what these 8 did, though I really think it's probably more, what they did was pathetic, it was cowardice, and it's gonna blow up.
7 Democrats, 1 independent.
In their face. And I say that possibly more people were involved because these 8, they have something in common. They are not facing their voters in 26. 2 are retiring, 3 are up for re-election in 28, and 3 are up for re-election in 30. Yeah, it makes...
Yeah. That is not ideal. Now it is in the Democrats' court to see about ousting them from the party and like trying to primary them at the soonest possible window.
To me, pocket that little 5 to 10 minute rant video and focus on Chuck Schumer instead. Because Chuck, I think you think you're being smooth with it. But Chuck, I'm seeing more people than ever thinking you are a weak, mealy-mouthed weasel. Right? And with that,
people do not like Chuck Schumer. Like, to be fair, Chuck does suck. His name rhymes with it. Chuck Schumer does fucking suck, but I don't think he's behind this. This was definitely, like, of all the things that I would criticize Chuck Schumer for, this shutdown move is not one of them. I can't really blame him for the fact that 7 of the worst people in the Democratic Party, all worse than Chuck Schumer, by the way, all chose to do whatever the fuck they felt like, all because there are literally no consequences for them anytime soon. Like, I don't know. This particular thing is not where I have a big problem with him. But in general, yeah, fuck Chuck Schumer. But this particular case, I mean, I would like to see someone else be the leader of the Democratic Party, though. So if this just gets Chuck Schumer replaced with someone else as, like, the head of the party, I wouldn't be too mad about that.
I'll say, I knew that you weren't built for this moment, but holy shit, it's almost impressive how useless you are. Like, it's no secret. You are up for re-election in 26, and it really looks like you're trying to save face.
It's going to be a big election, guys. I hope y'all will be here with me. I'll probably live stream because I want to see if Chuck Schumer gets primaried out. I want to see if we can get a far more progressive Democrat to take Chuck Schumer's place. And that's next year, guys. That is next year. I hope y'all will be here to join me for that.
With this Novo, but it appears that everyone's seeing right through you. But also, even if you're not being sneaky, it's not a great look. Because you've either helped orchestrate the situation, have these 8 kind of take the hit, hope that it doesn't really affect them in the future.
Okay, well, no. That's like the conspiracy meme, but...
Sure. So you're being sneaky, or these 8 just ignored you, and so you're just ineffective, and neither of those situations...
Like, I don't like Chuck Schumer. I don't like to defend him, but, like, how is he supposed to control them? Like legitimately, like, how is he supposed to control the 7 worst people in the Democratic Party? The most conservative Democrats in the party that everyone hates. I mean, maybe I just don't know. Like, what can he do about them?
Inspire confidence, right? Whoever headed either situation shouldn't lead. Like, your one qualifier is, I guess, you put the L in leader. But hey, again, I could be right, I could be wrong. I guess we'll see in December. And in the meantime, of course, I'd love to know your thoughts. What are your opinions?
I hope Chuck Schumer gets primaried out. I want to see someone else. I don't like Chuck Schumer. I don't. It's weird that this is a situation where everyone's criticizing him, and I'm like, well, guys, this is one of the few cases where it's less that he did something good, and it's more that he just isn't a part of the bad. Like, he's irrelevant to the bad, more or less.